All right, so Zoom has let us know we are recording. So this is a good time if you haven't already to turn off your camera and your mic just in case those are going. So thank you very much, Deb, for that introduction, and welcome to Sharing the Best. Here are some short bios. We'll start with Amy Chang, received her Bachelor's of Business from Tsinghua University in Taiwan prior to immigrating to Canada. In 2007, she earned her BFA from Emily Carr University of Art and Design. She has consistently shown in solo and group exhibitions locally and internationally, including 2008 Taiwan Ceramic Biennial in Taipei, Taiwan, and in 2011 at the Mino International Ceramic Competition in Nagoya, Japan. She was a finalist for the 2020 Ceramic Biennial in Taiwan. And in 2021, she held a solo exhibition at Ying-Yueh Ceramic Museum in Taipei, Taiwan. Hi, welcome, Amy.
Hi.
Next is Wei Cheng, born and raised in China. Wei completed studies in ceramics at Emily Carr University of Art and Design, graduating in 2014. She has been a resident artist in Jingdezhen and at the Yijing Pottery Center in both China and at Alfred University's Summer Arts Workshop in Alfred, New York, and also has participated in the Burning Man Festival in 2019. Her work has been exhibited in solo and group exhibitions in both national and international venues, and locally at the Le Pont Center, Canton Sardine Gallery, and the Chinese Cultural Center. Working from her studio in Vancouver, she makes constructions of found objects with fired clay and participates in performance and installation work. Welcome, Wei. Next, we have Ying-Yueh Chuang coming from Canada, from Taiwan, coming to Canada, from Taiwan in the early 1990s, earning a diploma of fine arts from Langara College in 97, a BFA from Emily Carr in 1999, and an MFA in ceramics at NSCAD University in 2001. She has taught ceramics across Canada and also at Kwantlen Polytechnic University since 2014. Her work has been featured in numerous publications and exhibitions locally, nationally, and internationally in both juried and invitational exhibitions. She has received many grants and awards, including a 2006 Winifred Shantz National Emerging Artist Award for Ceramics in Canada. Born in welcome, Ying-Yueh. Good to have you. Next, we have Evan. Born in Hong Kong, Evan Young immigrated to Canada in 1994. Influenced by his parents, who were painters, he earned his diploma in fine arts from Kwantlen and studied visual arts at Emily Carr in 2004. Subsequently, he received an impressive exhibition record creating carefully constructed sculptural pieces involving numerous slip cast components. He was a finalist in the 2012 and 2020 Taiwan Biennial Ceramics, received a recommendation prize in the 2016 Taiwan Ceramic Biennial, and an honorable mention in the 2021 Korean International Ceramic Biennial, among numerous other awards. Welcome, Evan. Good to have you. Thank you everyone for your attention in these bios. These are fantastic artists, and I'm so excited to read just a little bit of information about how amazing their careers are. And there's so much more, so please check out each of their websites and get to know their work even better. The panel now, I'll start with these short recorded presentations, and there'll be a live discussion amongst the panelists and myself, where we'll kind of go through a few questions and answers together and have a conversation. After that point, we will open up to participation from the audience. We can read some questions from the chat, but we can also possibly have some live discussion as time permits, and I think there will be some time, so that will be great. So for now, let me go ahead and start up sharing with you some of these awesome presentations. Just bear with me while I get them started up here. So first, we're going to start with Amy's work. And it just takes a second to load each of these presentations, so you can relax and enjoy the show. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share this screen. And maybe I could just ask for a few thumbs up that people can see a shared screen at this moment. Now go ahead and hit play. There's a thumbs. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Evan Ting. I'm really happy to have guests to present my work here. The first piece is very important to me. It was shown in my grad show at America, and it's also the first time I got my pieces selected into a very important international competition. This Cinderella is included in a body of work under the name Imperfection. Pieces in this group are all based on different story and fairy tale, but the message I want to deliver are more on the dark side. I try to use ironic way to present the pieces. So you see a very big foot with a tiny glass shoes, which means you will never find a glass shoes meet your size. This is also a very famous love story, but please look into the negative space between the two faces. Does it look like a dagger? Did you find it? I made this piece just want to wake up people. It is time to get up, do something. There is no prince coming. Look at the Little Mermaid. The peeling face and the body is telling you if you want to be a human, you must go through a very difficult process. Then I was inspired by the steampunk style. I made a group of work under the title New Industrial Revolution. The concept is about my concern with the emerging crisis in our daily life, like this piece, due to the polluted air. So the machine on top of the cloud collect the rain first and filter and go through the bottom and cloud, and they become raindrops falling on the ground. But you can see they are through and they are still polluted. I don't need to say too much about this piece. When people look at the name, they smile, then I know they got the story. This is a similar piece. All machine parts in this group are all made by clay and hand cutting, one by one. I put on metal glaze and elaster, make them look like a real machine part. Actually, they are all clay. This is about food safe crisis. When you look into that chocolate chip, they are all screws and nuts. In 2021, I had a solo exhibition at Ying-Yueh Ceramic Museum in Taipei, Taiwan. I made a group work with the name Artificial Intelligence. I make hybrid creatures. They are half nature born, half robots. I want to pass on a message that overwhelmingly AI technology almost in place of everything in our daily life. As this piece, it is said dragon breathes fire, but this one sprinkle water. It is a fire extinguisher. I made the water gate switch as the tail and the shower head in front. The body is made by the casting water pipe. This is a corgi dog with a satellite dish, so it can receive the message from the outer space. I draw the undersea view inside the diving helmet. So when the people look into the magnified glass window, they experience the same view as the octopus does. I think the octopus can use their soft tentacle to go through the block pipe to eat garbage to help clean the pipe as the plumber. For this piece, I used a lot of jewelry parts to decorate the flamingo. I need to make a very charming and elegant baby creature. Actually, I don't really know what this is, but people said it looked like a rhino. The skin on top is collected by the burned Christmas light bulb. You can still see the burning mark, and the spinner in front can spin very quickly. So it's really attract people to play with you. And this is my presentation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Amy. Super good to see what was there. And now we're going to go ahead with the next artist. The next artist is Wei. And so I'll just bring her video up now. In just a moment while it loads up for us. I'm going to go ahead and share screen again. Okay, hopefully everyone can see this. It looks like a green box is telling me you're all seeing it. So I'll go ahead and play. This is Wei's work.
Hello, everyone. My name is Wei. Great thanks to Northwest Ceramic Foundation for this opportunity. I will share my ceramic journey with you today. After graduated from Emily Carr, I went back to China to further my study. My first stop is Jingdezhen, the ceramic capital in China. I was able to experience not only the traditional process of making, such as wheel throwing, hand building, but also the contemporary movement in that town. As you can see on the right side, it's a functional working wood kiln. And here's more details of that kiln building and people working there. After that, I did a couple months residency in Yixing, where it's famous for its teapot. The teapot you can see here is all hand building instead of wheel throwing. And also, I need to make my own tool for these specific teapots. After that, I also invited my masters to be here in Vancouver. Did several workshops to share their special techniques. During the traveling and the learning time, I find myself really interested in firing process. How the flame leaves their marks, how different kilns have their different personalities. So I started to experimenting with kilns. The bottom right is my very first test kiln. I start to focusing more on different kilns. Here you can see it's the train kiln and the soda kiln and the shovel center where I did my most firing those years. And also some other bigger kilns, the dragon kilns at different locations. Here, the raku firing, and also on the bottom right, it's a two-saw kiln at Alfred University. I was also involved in some kiln building. On the right side, it's the biggest firing I ever participate. It's 2019 before COVID in Burning Man. Ceramic making process are usually not very mobile compared with other art practice, especially if you want to do wood firing. I want to challenge a bit on that. So I started to using kicking wheel and building mini wood kilns. You can see here on the left side, it's a mini kiln made just out of two soft brick. I was also lucky enough to find some people share same interest. So we built and fired some functional wood kiln together. There are some pictures of the firing process. Besides the functional part, I believe the kiln itself can be a sculptural work, can be an artwork itself as well. So I started to have fun with that. Here are some sculpture kilns I made. Here's Mr. Angler. On the left side, it's my drawing with the inside structure. And also I made a squid as a stopper, and the head is the firebox. Also try to combine different clay together to experiment how it works as a kiln building structure. Here's more pictures of this ammonite mini wood kiln. Okay. For my wood fire work, I usually combine them with other materials to re-enhance the rustic and unique wood firing surface. The green crab you can see here, actually it's a winding toy from McDonald's Kids Meal, so it can move around. Combining other materials such as metal, plastic, glass with ceramic actually helps me to have a better understanding of clay, this medium, how to let the clay shine and how to let it do it only it can do. Here's more pictures combined with some like vintage frame. Yeah, so here's my journey with this beautiful and sometimes unexpected medium, but I believe it's also the most charming part to me. We live in this rainbow of chaos, so let's just enjoy it. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's now, the next person that will, whose work we'll look at is Ying-Yueh. Let me go ahead and open up that video. Thank you all for your patience while we go through this step by step. This was the best way to do this. Okay, so we're going to share screen so everyone knows where we're at.
Thank you for attending this artist panel. I'm so honored to present my work alongside with the other 3 talented artists today. I love looking at food objects, and they are great resources for my inspiration. The symbol on the left is a cross. In Islamic and Western worlds, cross represents garden in which the 4 rivers meet, and that is where the paradise exists. When I draw 4 pathways on the 4 sides of the cross, it becomes a Chinese word, tian, on the right, which means field or cultivated land. When I multiply the word tian, it becomes a grid system, which is a simple system to sort out complicated ideas. Many bodies of work, I use the grid system as the main concept to further develop ideas. A garden is a place where culture, civilization, and organization arise. It is not only microcosm in macrocosm, but also an universe of its own with many hybrid species created from my own imagination. This body of work was inspired by a fully blown dandelion capturing the seeds before they fly away. Even though it is the end of the life for the dandelion flower, it is also the start of the new lives for the seeds. As an artist, I want to always remind myself that there is always hope and be positive. I was in Ying-Yueh, China, first time in 2008 for 4 months to work on a commission project by the Archive of Ontario. I thought I was experienced with ceramic. However, not being familiar with the clay and the firing process there, my ambitious project resulting in some disappointment. More than 80% of all the tiles I created did not survive the firing. Luckily, I was able to submit 4 smaller tiles to make up a big one at the end. The piece is titled Memory of Osgood Hall. I went back to Ying-Yueh again with new inspiration and discovered a lot of fabric not only has beautiful patterns, but also has existing grid system. Traditionally, this type of fabric was used by poor, while the porcelain was used by the royal family or rich. I like the juxtaposition of the 2 materials and I specifically choose this tool to address social issues such as equality. I want these two materials to coexist in a harmonious way without any tension. In an ideal society, everyone contributes his or her talent equally to the wholeness, and that is where paradise exists. There are many types of flowers being used on the fabric for patterns, such as peony, which symbolize wealth. I often replace the 2D flowers with hybridized 3D Western flowers. While attending my Delta ceramic residency, I asked myself, what were the things I could only do here, but nowhere else in the world? I worked with anything I could find on site that related to Delta to create new work and to pay homage to the historical site. I explored with Delta IXL bricks, making my own bricks, using the kiln furniture such as stilts, sagger, plaster molds, I craft Delta ware. I organized them and reorganized them to get different patterns and configuration before the final decisions was made. The high-craft Delta ware already have so many beautiful pastel colors that I like, so I want to do something with them. I combined with many slip-casted objects and arranged them in such a way to create new patterns, forms, and structures. I mainly make sculpture work, but I have a lot of respect for functional potters. To me, it is a way to celebrate utilitarian pottery without me having to make all the pieces from the very beginning. My experience being at Delta working with the functional ware led me to pay attention to and focusing on the Chinese traditional functional wares. I redesigned the plate form to increase its volume so I could keep its functionality, but it has potential to become a sculpture structure. Many beautiful forms used by Chinese are already existing for centuries and highly celebrated throughout generations. I'm glad to utilize many of these beautiful functional wares and combine with sculptural elements to develop hybrid structures that I can call my own. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Anyway, that was gorgeous to see. It's so fun to see everybody's back to back here. Okay, so now we're gonna see Evan's work, which is also super exciting to see. This will be the last of these presentations, and then we'll have some conversation. Okay. Sharing the next one. All right. So here we go.
Before I start my presentation, there is one thing I need to mention. When I was 16, I was diagnosed that I have a rare neurological disorder. It is called Munchausen-Rosenthal syndrome. It is going to affect the following of my speech, so please bear with me. I am a quiet person, not good at words, no matter if it's in English or Chinese. Because of that, I still haven't finished a single exhibition proposal, which I always eager of having a solo exhibition locally. However, I have got myself to participate in some group exhibitions by submitting photos and a short artist statement. It sounds easy, isn't it? In fact, I work my butt off to get myself into this game. I spent 3 years sleep testing the same object on every single day like a factory worker. End up, I made over 14,000 individual pieces, fired it and assembled it afterward to create this harmony series. It is about climate change. I wasn't trying to show effects or a solution of the environmental issues. It is the idea of harmony between humanity and nature. Also, it is a belief we can work as one with no boundaries to save the earth, our only home. Honestly, I don't enjoy every moment of this process, but this is my only way to build a bigger peace. Even so, I have got myself into this repetition process again. This one has a plasmode body and 88 pieces slip-casted ivory bags, which I collected from my father's chemotherapy before he died. It was the last lessons from him that inspired me to create this series of life topics, in a way to commemorate my father. Also, there is a personal meaning. It was a life cast of my ex-girlfriend and my arms, which I put together to create a completed one as my emotional, spiritual comfort after I received a wedding invitation. I also tried different approach to interpret the fatality, unpredictable of life by using a sleep soaking and texturing method, letting the crack happen naturally. On this one, I was trying to picture the moment when my father was having a treatment. The ivory bag was up as high as cloud. It looks like rain on the outside, and it hits every bit of our hearts like the ripple on the ground. This is my recent work. It has 250 pieces in total, including the upper body. It was inspired by a conversation from a doctor who once said, "I will try to help your father live longer." That moment hit me like a marriage thought. Although that said, moving forward, I will take my illness as my life and live together until death. I take that as my metaphor to create this work. To me, it somehow looks like a portrait of myself, reflecting the situation that I have been going through. I'm not complaining. Instead, I appreciate everything that happened to me. All the twists and turns become my inspiration to form my artwork. This is my presentation. If you have any questions, you may ask me later. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Evan. How fun, all of you. I so enjoyed your presentations and getting to know your work a little bit. I was fortunate to get to see all of this a little bit before the rest of the group here. And I thought we would just go through some questions together. I'll ask some questions and maybe ask each of you what you might have, to share in that area. So if it's okay, we'll just get started. I thought I would ask you to tell me about what brought you to ceramics, and maybe Amy, can we start with you?
Oh, sure. I took many different art classes before I totally devoted myself to ceramic. I think it just happened one day, but that was a long time ago. Just walking down the street, then I passing by very good-looking gallery. They designed a very well-designed gallery. So I just went in. Then I saw a ceramic exhibition. So I catch that exhibition just by chance. But I still remember those beautiful big bowl and plate. And I think this beautiful piece really attract my eyes. But I'm not just love those pieces. It's kind of opened the door for me. I was thinking maybe I want to learn how to make this so I can make something for myself. At the time is the option is limited if you want to buy something really made by hand. Most function wear or commercial made. So I think I want to make something that is one of kind. I can just make for myself use, or I can just give to friends. So that's just my humble wish. Start my long-term ceramic journey. I don't even think I'll make sculpture yet by the time.
Thank you, Amy. Fabulous to hear kind of what brought you in and what holds you here. It's ceramic is just this material that keeps us all entranced in how much you can do with it. Next, I'd like to hear from Wei, if you could answer a little bit again about what brought you to ceramics.
Yeah, sure. Actually, very similar to Amy, my ceramic journey is unplanned. I was doing my summer electives in Nigeria, and I'm so lucky to meet my very first ceramic instructor, Sarah Foot. I think without her, I probably won't pursue ceramic, doing what I'm doing right now. And after 1 year study in Nigeria, and then I decided transfer to Emily Carr, officially kind of like make this big decision. But at that time, I think that this decision totally changed my life. But at that time, I saw just a very small decision, start from just taking one ceramic class to touch the clay to feel it. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And Evan, what brought you to ceramics?
Well, at the beginning, it wasn't my intention to do ceramics too, but it was my parents' idea. Yeah, and then I would take the advice to take my third pottery class at Paint Studio. Mostly I did some wheel throwing and hand building. And later I went to Cornell College, and I think I spent most of my time in the ceramic studio, and I think, yeah, and David Loy was my instructor, and I see you here. Yeah, so I think without any of them, I won't be sitting here today.
Great. Yeah, so sweet to hear about our mentors and also just what connected us in. Yeah, and we're also happy, Evan, that you got brought into ceramics. Beautiful. And Ying-Yueh, can you tell us a little bit about what brought you to ceramics?
Yeah, since I was a kid, I always know that I want to somehow become an artist, even though I know it's almost impossible. But I have that dream since a kid. And then when I went to the high school in Taiwan, because my academic was not so great, so I enrolled in a fine art high school. And the 3 years of very rigorous, training, kind of make me thinking about, maybe there's a possibility. But anyway, I, take all kinds of courses and training at that time. Painting, Chinese painting, drawings, sculpture, jewelry making, graphic design or product design, interior designs. Never had a chance to do ceramic at the time until I came to Canada. And then I was able to enroll in Langara College. From there, a lot of courses, foundational courses that I took somehow becomes too easy. And then except ceramics was actually new. And then of course, anybody who do ceramic always think, it's easy, right? And then when you actually get into it, you just kind of started to encounter all kinds of problems. And then the trick becoming like, how do I fix that problem? How do I move forward? So I think that's why I kind of find that, ceramic, it's challenging. It kept me wanting to learn something more and become better. So I think that's what kind of kept me in the ceramic. So when I went to Emily Carr, I was still debating whether becoming a painter or ceramic artist or sculptor. I decided I should just focusing in one, which will be ceramic, because then I can kind of combine my interest and skill set from painting and then also the sculpture area in the ceramic. So that was the decision I kind of made. And then it's a slow path, slow discovery. But that's how I get hooked into the ceramic world.
Amazing. Yeah, I can resonate with all four of you of just these little steps along the way that kind of pulled me into ceramics. Ceramics was kind of like, come on, Jen. Yeah, so I can really relate to the ways in which you found yourselves here, which is great kind of jumping off point. I'm hearing that all of you trained in ceramics here in Canada, but I'm just curious if you can talk about a little bit your training in, say, Asia or North America in terms of like maybe residencies or other things that you've trained both here and there. Are there any kind of basic differences in approaches or values? And if you really kind of just trained in Canada, what observations you've made? And maybe we could start with Evan on that.
I don't have any experience in Hong Kong because I will study here, and as far as I know, I think it only do most of the photos do oxidation fire in a small electric kiln, and due to the limited space, and I think most of the people in Hong Kong fighting for space, a living space, so they don't have spare space to do any other hobbies like ceramics. They took so many space, and for the rent, for like about if it is 150 square feet, it takes you like probably $1,000 a month.
Wow.
To rent for the rent.
Yeah, and it seems like that kind of led you to studying here, and then when you have these exhibitions in other locations internationally, that perhaps studying there has been a little bit harder or just tricky to get the space, as you're saying.
So like if I didn't come here, I probably won't get the same the art training that I have in Canada.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And Wei, can you answer that a little bit about training in either or both locations?
Yeah, sure. As I mentioned in my presentation, after I graduated from America, I went to the ceramic capital in China. It's called Ying-Yueh. And I noticed actually it's the making process. It's very different from here. Like here we kind of preparing the clay, make the work, load the kiln, doing everything ourselves. But in Ying-Yueh, I would say it's a highly division of labor. There's a term they describe there. The whole process will exchange hand by 72 people, which means those masters actually start doing their training or making ceramics when they are teenager. Now most of them they're at their 60s. They're not just doing one thing for their entire life. Actually, they're doing one tiny step for their entire life. Mm-hmm. And also when doing residency there, all the access to different studios, glaze lab is very convenient. At that time, you can actually ask other people, say, doing spray glaze for you at a very low cost, or since they divide the whole process to very tiny step. At that time, actually raised the question to myself, in the whole process, in the whole creative process, what make my work, which part I can let go, which parts I can't, because when I'm making my work here, it's like no one touches my work, nobody at all. But at that time, I found the whole making process is very different and can be way more efficient if I can let other people do part of the work. And also at that time, really like make me think about what's the core, or the essential parts or the essential creativity of my work.
Yeah, that is super interesting. And I could really see that it would be hard to let go of aspects of the making and still feel like it's yours. And at the same time, it makes so much sense. Why do we need to do every step when we can share the labor a little bit? In some ways, it's quite interesting to pick apart what matters for you in terms of the core values and beliefs of your creative process.
Yeah, because not only the potters, but lots of like painters, not only from China, but internationally going that town. So you can see some people actually for their whole project, they probably like actually never touch their work, but claim that's their work at the end. So really like make me kind of think about the process a lot. Yeah.
I guess it act like more of a designer or director, artistic director.
Yeah, but also what's our role in the making process, and how can we make, especially now we have AI. Probably that's another, So what makes us the artists? Yeah.
That's a great comparison with AI and having others help and being a designer versus being a maker, and what part of makes us the artist, the maker, and what parts are not that necessary. So yeah, it's also what's a collaboration and what's your own, like if AI, is it collaborating with you, or lots of great comparisons there. And anyway, I heard you chime in there. Maybe you could answer that question next. That would be fabulous.
I definitely think there's a huge different approaches of art, because I can only speak my experience when I was a student in high school back in Taiwan. So especially when it comes to critiquing the work, a lot of time the instructor actually expect that you do your best, right? So whatever you showed, people critique on it. We usually generally pick on things that you can improve and expect that things that supposed to be done right is right or are right? So even though it's already very good, people will still pick on things that you can still improve. So, good constructive feedback. As I know, so it's a bit harsh generally, because you have to kind of be a bit tougher, just because generally the competition is so big, right? So when I come to Canada, I started to realize, during the class time, the critique, generally, instructor and students only want to talk, generally talk about the good things. Nobody wants to be the bad person to critique on things that's really, essential, or will never really pointed out, you should actually put in more hours into the work. Things like that, or just naturally brought up. If it's very obvious you haven't put in enough time, people will point that out. Back in the time when I was a student. Now maybe it's changing and maybe it's more westernized, so people are kinder. So anyway, that's kind of my kind of observation. So when I'm actually teaching now, I'm trying to balance a little bit more, even though naturally it comes to me, I want to point it out things that you need to be improved, and I just kind of take it as, whatever you need to be done, that's good, that's an of course. Anyway,
how does that compare with residencies abroad? As you've gone to residencies, and have you found any of that kind of feedback available there, or is it a whole different setup for you and experience?
I think during the residency, you don't really get that much of the feedback on either end. But I noticed that, in Canada, I did 3 residencies, Harbourfront Center, Banff, and then at Delta. You are pretty much very independent. You just kind of go to the studio, you do your own thing. Nobody really care, right? Whatever you do. But when I was in China, because I was working with some workers there and people I hire, so constantly they actually, knowing that I'm not familiar with the material, they constantly teach me and educate me because they know better. And I'm just a beginner, right? So it was kind of an interesting dynamic that you just have to kind of know they really want you to do well. And so then they constantly interfere. And then I have to kind of learn not to, maybe go into my studio at a certain time when they are there, because then I get overwhelmed. I show up at a certain time. So then when people are not there, I can really focus and doing my own business. Yeah. And even the value, I think, system is quite different too, because we focus so much on the technical aspect. As if this is clay, not having the pieces fired, cracking, showing at the end, it's an essential. It's an of course. As I think in Canada or more of the Western North American practice is like the most important thing is the idea and it's the concept.
Yes.
So then you don't really just gonna be trapped with just only the technical aspect. But I think things that show in Taiwan, we ultimately thinking what is presentable and what is not presentable. Idea usually comes later, like you discover, oh, this is what it meant. So basically the appearance of the work has to kind of speak for itself to begin with. So I find that it's a big difference between the two East and West approaching and the value. Craft is always valued as high as art, right? And that's why in a lot of like Sotheby's auctions, you can see like this vase just gets sold for like X millions of dollars, which you don't really get to see that in North America. So hopefully we will change that eventually one day, slowly.
I for sure support that idea that we'll change that one day, and be selling really well here is valued here in the same level economically as well. And I think that speaks a lot to, thinking about a residency where you go and people are there working and willing to invested in you doing well with the craft, you doing well with your output, like really invested in caring for you in that way, as well as being able to make and have a kind of like playful experience, and I think residencies provide both. But I think where I've gone outside of North America for residency, I've had a similar experience where people are really working hard to help you achieve your technical wish. And that's a beautiful experience. Also, thank you, Ying-Yueh and Amy. I'd love to hear from you about that as well.
I do have similar fun like Ying-Yueh, but because I didn't take any ceramic training from school before I moved to Canada. All my training finished here. But I do meet some young teacher in Taiwan in recent year when I back to Taiwan, did some of my workshop and my exhibition. So from my, I found that mostly in Taiwan, people more focusing on skill training. They love to learn the skill first, like how do you make the glaze? Like how do you make this? Also teacher is focusing on teach the skill. It's better than concept training. I think if the teacher doesn't teach you many different skills, maybe the student will think, oh, you are not good enough. So students learn a lot of skill, but then maybe afterward they will develop their own style or something like that. But I feel here that teacher will like to know what you want to do or what you are doing and what is your problem, and the instructor or the teacher will focusing on what you need and give you some help or something. So the help is really focusing on the point you need, not let you learn many things first. Maybe you don't really know what you really want. But I think it's different. Both are benefit to students, but I feel that's a little bit different. Yeah.
Yeah. Great answers. Thank you for that. And I don't want to push us through a question too quick. So if anybody has more to contribute, please jump in now. All right. You can always come back to this if you think of something else, no pressure. I'll ask another question though, just to see what else we're coming out. Thank you all for thinking of all these great answers. As you were born and raised, all of you in Asia, and your earliest memories and experiences of the world came through that Asian lens. In what ways do you feel these experiences shaped you as an artist? And also, how has your immigrant experience of living or being educated in Canada influenced or shaped your practice? And maybe we'll start with Wei on that one.
Sure. I would say the education system is very different. In China, like I'm from very like traditional like Chinese family. Even though I like craft since a kid, but never think about it being an artist. It's not an option. And as I mentioned, when I'm in Nigeria, actually, I already had my business degree in China at that time. I was just continuing and pursuing my MBA, like further the study. But like in China, once you graduate from university, it's really hard to go back. But here, it's like whenever you want, and you can always go back to university again. That's how I get to my second degree in art. But I think it will be very hard and almost like impossible to do that in China. But so I would say the immigrant like experience gave me this second chance, gave me the option for that. And another thing is I also know nothing about ceramic before I came here, and all my like training started from here in the Western world. But because I'm immigrant, I can always go back to my own culture to learn and to get a different experience to compare, and also I would say to learn from both culture and try to combine it as my art practice. It's not only like Asia or only Western. I can get the opportunity to learn from both and to make it my own thing.
Yeah, and you had invited some masters to come here and teach as well, which was a huge experience. Do you want to say a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, because after Jingdezhen, I went to Yixun, where it's famous for its teapot. But before that, when I look at those like perfect made teapot, I saw it's from the whale throwing. But not until when I visited the place, I find they are all hand building. And then, wow, I was really amazed by that. And after like a couple years learning from that, I would say, oh, I want to introduce that special technique to here, like in Vancouver, like locally here. And also like let my master, because I think they never left that town before they came here. I also want to show them what local people or local artists here, how they do pottery, to give them the experience to see both culture practice as well.
Yeah. And would you have had that chance to work with those masters easily back in China, or was it in particular because you could bring them here that you had those opportunities to learn from them here?
Sorry, I can't.
Oh, just I was wondering, when you invited them to come here to Vancouver, it seems like that was a very special experience in order to actually get to learn from them.
Oh yeah, because I think now gets better now recent years, but before even you are Chinese people in China, if you want to learn that special technique, you need to be that small town residency people to learn that technique. Usually it's like a family secret to passing on. They won't teach the outsider people.
Yeah, usually they don't let if a stranger to learn that. Yeah.
Or you need to kind of
Right.
marry
Special
someone in the
relation.
family.
You need a special relation, then you can get this secret skill or something.
Yeah, and also the reason I can learn
Yeah.
from them, it's like my close friend here, she's the fourth generation of that family, so I kind of have that convenience. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. And really great for people here in Vancouver to have that opportunity. So thank you for making that effort. Back to this question about how your experiences have been shaped. Ying-Yueh, you are next to maybe help us with that question.
I'll say, when I was still doing my undergrad, I had still a lot of influence from, all my experience back from Taiwan, which is, you as a girl, right, you're always kind of expected to act in certain way, dress in a certain way, or have a certain kind of manner. Even though when you are doing the work, supposed to kind of please other people in some way. Yeah. Until I went to actually doing my master's degree, I was still, first year, I was still doing things like that, trying to make things that looks pretty, right? Yeah. And then, it appealed to everybody, and then everybody said, oh, it's so beautiful. And slowly it eats into me. It's kind of saying, well, but what does it really mean to you, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of thing I feel like I'm kind of being awake. It's like, okay, you can't really lie to anybody anymore, but you have to be true to yourself. So I started to kind of take all of that kind of pleasing kind of work away to focusing on some of the sculptural work that I guess later on people know what I was doing. And so that was a big learning curve for me, to kind of, put other people's opinion on the side and just kind of say, this is my own time, this is my own thing, no one else should be in the business, and it's me. What does it speak to me? Yeah, so I think that was the biggest thing that I learned, to have that freedom, but at the same time risking kind of things that may not necessarily be working for myself, or for maybe people who used to accepting me and then not necessarily accepting me anymore.
Wow.
So but I think that was a good training. And then later on, when after the school, I was doing things apparently, some of my collectors, they really like, and so they collect some of my stuff until I went to China and everything becomes white. And then they no longer collecting my work because my work used to be very colorful. And then it's all white now. It's like, oh, what's going on with her? It's not as good, apparently. I was able to kind of say, that's me. If you like me as an artist, you have to accept the way how I grow as an artist. Yeah. And then, I really appreciated it. There is this gallery in Regina, run by Gina Fafar. She just basically trusted me that when she was giving me a show, knowing that I'm just gonna, have a solo show, that's just the way it is. And then I was really appreciative that she trusts me so much. So I come out with a totally brand new body of work from Delta, the last minute. And then it's like, well, instead of, I know a lot of commercial galleries, they will not accepting things like that. It's like, well, we thought you were gonna do this, but now you give us this. Anyway. So
it's amazing to have that opportunity to get to a point where you say, I need to do a change in my work that really makes sense for me, and then have that experience of a gallery accept that challenge, or have the experience of some people will not continue to collect, but other new people will come forward because you've made a very genuine decision in how you're going to work with your art practice. Not an easy choice to do, right? Because it's there's always that chance that you won't have exactly what you need. But I'm so happy that you changed your work. Keep growing and doing what makes sense for you. Beautiful work. Thank you for that. And Evan, how can you answer that question for us as well?
Like for me, being an artist, it has nothing to do with my Asian lens. I think it's about my painter parents. And when I was small, I always wanted to be like my father doing painting. But as I grew up, I kind of went the other directions, like because I think it's pretty obvious, like you don't want to hear people say that you have some similarity to the other people or the other artists. So I went to do ceramics, and and I kind of like the possibility of I could do pretty much anything in 2D or 3D. Yeah.
Much free here.
And
that's a limitation. So there's a lot of choice.
The possibility is endless.
Yeah, exactly. And you have, the influence of our parents, especially if we had artist parents, that makes a big difference in how we move forward with our work. Sometimes we don't realize it until we're, much older or have practiced a studio practice for many decades before we understand that influence of our parents. And I think having that painter background that was a lens which you learned about art from, but then you could grow into this three-dimensional space, and that really made it your own, had helped you to step into your own vision about what you want in ceramics or sculpture, for instance. Amazing, all of you. I want to sit and have like 10 conversations with everybody. I appreciate this so much. The next question I have there is, and we're doing a little bit over here, we're a little bit after 3, but I think in terms of time, we have space to talk a little bit more, and then just hear from each of you. I think the next question I'll ask is, what do you see as the importance of participating in residencies or educational opportunities in Asia at this point in your careers? And do they help you to reconnect with your original cultural heritage? So how about Ying-Yueh, if you would answer that one?
Sure. I find it kind of useful, yes, for me to kind of reconnect with my kind of a cultural and heritage. I remember the first time, 2008, first time I went to Jingdezhen. And the reason also for that was because when I was at Nova Scotia, I had Walter Ostrom as a professor, and he knows so much about Chinese history and Chinese ceramics. That made me feel really shameful. So I was like, okay, when I ever have a chance, I need to go to Jingdezhen. So that was really, really influenced by him. And then so I went there, and what was really great was it reminds me, it brings back all my childhood memory. As like if I kind of rewind my history back to like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, that's how I grew up. The places I grew up in Taiwan, it's really similar to Jingdezhen. I mean, maybe a little bit cleaner, but just the way how people are, really hardworking and then really hospitable and just welcome, people, and then they just like to enjoy things with you. So it was really great for me to experience that, and how you really have to quickly unlearn everything that I know about clay in Canada, and then just kind of relearn things really quickly. And then also utilizing the teamwork right, to the best of your advantage, is you have to quickly find out who can do what the best, right? And get to know people.
Yeah.
And use what we call relationship, right? To get to know people, make friends really quickly, and even including hiring workers for you. You can bargain with the price as well, right? So, and that also comes with the relationship, like how well you get to know them, how well they actually like you, right? They'll charge you with different prices. So that was really good to kind of remind me of, oh yeah, the importance of, you know, being in this kind of situation. You have to try to please people, you have to work with them for the best result you can. As you know, when I was working at, you know, some of the residency in Canada, I don't feel that's necessary. You don't necessarily have to please people. You don't have to like necessarily talking to them. You don't feel like to, you just mind your own business. Yeah. So I find that really interesting. From, you know, the East and West kind of experience. Although I haven't had a chance to do other residencies outside of Canada. The only residencies in China I do is being in Ying-Yueh. Yeah, but every time I go back, it's so different. Yeah, you know, you feel like you are just relearning everything, the culture, the city, the people each time. Yeah, because the city is growing so fast and it's so vibrant, you know, now with so many changes. Yeah. It's, every time I go back, I'm learning something new.
Revisiting a culture and getting to know a little more. Go ahead, Amy, sorry.
I just want to say that, but people always warm and friendly. You feel that you are really appreciated by people there. I have the same feelings.
Yeah. Well, Amy, would you want to jump in there and answer the same question for us about how you know, the residencies can help you reconnect with your initial culture?
Yeah, sure. I do back to Taiwan, do my residency at Ying-Yueh Ceramic Museum. That was the first time I stayed Taiwan, really do something related with ceramic. And I do back and forth between Taiwan and here, since I still have family there. But every time I go before that residency, I just go back to visit family and never stay over 1 month. But that time I stay around 3 months in the museum studio. So I do feel a big difference since when we were working there, we have 3 artists together in the same period of time. The other 2 is from different countries, one from States and from Japan. So, but we are not just working in the studio. The museum will arrange the workshop for us to teach. So through the workshop, we really connect with local people. So the people are so friendly. So they are not just coming to the class. They can give you a lot of related information, like tell you where you can go to see the show, where you can buy the cheaper supply. So I do make many good friends from there. And also we have chance, the museum will arrange us to visit the local artist studio. So they are another group of great people. So through those artists, and they will bring their friends, their artist friends to meet us again and again. So like we have a lot of chance to go out with them to visit a beautiful outdoors sightseeing, or go to see the exhibition, something. Yeah, so it's like a chain. I think I really feel I reconnect with my hometown. Like before, I know nobody and no one know me. So at this time, I really feel I reconnect with the ceramic society in Taiwan. And I'm still staying in touch with them right now. It's great. It's great experience for me. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I think that sense of being in a ceramic makers community is huge, and to plug in on your own culture in a way you haven't before is also exciting. But building those relationships and having a sense of belonging in the ceramic community in Taiwan and in BC, that's a pretty special way to think about. As you travel to residencies, you meet more people from all over the world, and you have this common material that helps guide a creative and a really genuine practice. So that's a beautiful thing to bring back with you, right? You bring it to wherever home is, you bring it with you.
Yeah.
I have another question that I meant to ask, and I slipped on that question, so I'm going to ask it now. And the question is, in what way do you think your ceramic work is influenced by your early or ongoing experiences of your first culture? And are there influences primarily technical, aesthetic, or cultural that you can distinguish between those three? Let's start with, we start with Wei on that one.
Sure. When I had my grad show in America, I had some like interesting feedback. It's like local people here, when they look at my work, they will think it's very kind of Oriental, like Asia related. But when Chinese people look at my work, same work, they will think it's like Westernized. To be honest, at that time, I was like so confused, like I don't get it at all. And also it bothers me for quite a long time. And then all of a sudden, one point, I realized it's just because the work, it's me. Even though I had all my ceramic practice or like learning process, educational background starting from here, but like the traditional Chinese culture and the value is unconsciously but rooted in me. So I feel like you said, most important thing is like being authentic and honest when you making. So my life experience is kind of mixed from East and West. So no wonder my work gonna be a mix as well. So it doesn't really matter what kind of style or influence it is. I think the most important thing is as long as it's authentic and it's like honestly like expressing myself, that's okay. Yeah, but at that time it bothers me a lot. It's because I didn't think about that. I just like probably it's unconscious process, but at that time just making things I think I want to express, but didn't realize it at all. So when people brought it up, I was really like confused for a long time. Actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, actually, after that, after I kind of like answering that question myself, I kind of then intentionally to focus on that. I think, as I said, to be an immigrant, I can intentionally take advantage from both culture, like learning all those technical parts to improve my skill, like when I did residency in China and when I did doing some programs like workshops here in West culture, try to focus on developing my ideas. So it's really kind of become a beneficial part. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Yeah. Feel the same.
Yeah. I do feel the same way. Yes. I think if you look at my work, I don't think you see any signs related with like Chinese element or Chinese culture. But I feel when I making my pieces, I think my my cultural background is still very important, inspire my creativity, more or less. Yeah, for example, I make a dragon, and you saw that pieces in the beginning. Dragon is the animal in Chinese mythology, but in West they also have dragon. So I made dragon. I think it started from in dragon is very popular in China. So I want to make a dragon, but in Western dragon is like breathe fire, but I make a dragon extinguisher. So I also play joke with the meaning. So that's what I product my work always. So sometimes I mix some Chinese element, but sometimes I will mix some Westerns. So I think they do affect each other. Yeah. Mm. And
Yeah,
I have,
go ahead.
yeah, okay, sorry. I also like our Chinese Ming and Qing dynasty. They make very vase, porcelain vase, but they have many different detailed drawing and decorate on surface. And those drawings are have symbolic meaning. So like my pieces, the Cinderella, I make many different type of shows on the Bigfoot. So I just want to tell the contemporary Cinderella, there are many lifestyle you can pursue. You don't need to sitting there waiting the glass shows. So that's I also want to do some drawing. It's not just pattern, it's meaningful. So I think this is related with my Chinese culture. Yeah.
Yeah, fabulous. I think there's so much there to consider about our starting point in life and what is almost subconsciously coming through our work and what is actually at certain points recognizable. Like I know this is something that's guiding me from my early culture, and now my current cultural practice in a new space is creating a different way of thinking about my work, way of responding. I'm gonna continue with the questions. I want to keep talking more, but this should help a little bit to connect with some of your answers already. How are you influenced by the Asian diaspora in BC in terms of maybe colleagues, exhibition opportunities, collectors or patrons, or how do you see this diaspora interacting with native-born BC residents, and how can different communities be brought together maybe to share their love of ceramics? So maybe we could start with Wei on that one.
Sure. Now I have my studio here making and also teaching. So sometimes the studio will organize a field trip when there's a, say, East Side Cultural Crawl, or like say the Sunshine Coast Cultural Crawl. So we'll organize some friends, students to go to visiting other artists' studios, or sometimes you just randomly walk into someone's home. Like together, I think it's not only connect my friends with ceramic, but also it's a way kind of merge them, or merge like the immigrant, how they merge to the local culture and the style here. And also I'll always use myself as example. I said, when you just immigrant to one new country, it can be a new culture, can be very challenging and tough because first you speak different language. There's always a culture shock, and you don't know much people. There's not much connection here, but you can also, as I said, take advantage of that. Now you have like your very first culture, and you can always go back, and you have the opportunity to learn something new. And ceramic practice or this medium becomes my entry to get to know this culture and to get to make new friends. Yeah, and I want to think not only my passion with this medium to my students and friends, but also like this my experience. Not as just, I would say ceramic to me at school, it's a major, and now becomes a career or job. And then I think at this point it becomes my lifestyle. So I want to also share that with my friends and students as well. Yeah, hope it will help it for their immigrant life.
Yeah, another point of connection.
Yeah, you also organize a group back go to China, right, to see the teapot.
Yeah,
I think that's great to mix the local residency and Western people get together to experience it. That was a great trip.
Yeah.
I really love it.
And I think the ceramic practice can be a bridge for like different cultures. So I'm not only like bring my master here to the workshops, as like Amy mentioned, also me and my other friend, we organized a trip to invite local artists here, including Amy. Happy to hear some good feedback, like fly to China to see like different like ceramic place to like in China. Also from the
we go to
go to
we visit
the same thing, to know what they do from their ceramic practice and get to know the culture behind it.
To clarify between two cultures what is happening. I think that's always something that helps everyone live on this planet together well, is this sense of how we can learn a little bit about each other's cultures, and then things begin to make sense and we can relax a little together and share. Amy, did you want to say a little bit about that question as well?
I like to give some idea for the new Asian immigrant here. Since that's my experience. When I just moved to Vancouver, I have no any connection, social connection with here. I'm totally a stranger, but I know I want to keep doing my pottery. So I start taking some pottery class from the local community center. So starting from that class, I met so many local people, and they are very friendly. They give me many information, which I really need. And then they told me that I can join the guild, the Potters Guild. I think for the people here, maybe the guild, especially for the Potters Guild, is very familiar to you. But the guild, I think, is a very unique society in Canada, since I don't see it in Taiwan has any organization like this even now. So, the guild is get together a group of amateur person. They have the same hobby, so they can share information or they do the things together. So I joined the Burnaby Potters Guild. So since the Burnaby Potters Guild is a working group, so we rent the studio and the facility from the city, so we can have studio party together. So we make our own glaze, we do our own firing. So from there, I learned the whole process from where to buy the supply until even I learned how to sell our works. We have sale like Christmas sale or summer sale twice a year. So it's really important and very benefit me to learn how the ceramic working here. It's so easy for me to go out to contact with other people. So that's my experience.
It's a similar idea as, a lot of time people go to new places, they say, oh, I want to go to church, and then they start to get to know people, so we'll have to kind of broadcast, do you like ceramics? Join the guild.
It's true. It's points of connection like that. And anyway, do you have more you want to share about those communities being brought together in your experience?
Well, generally, I haven't really get myself involved with a lot of like the Chinese organizations. But, since I am actually, teaching at a school, so I kind of utilizing that kind of to influence other people rather than, having, being influenced as much. So I remember, 2015 at the school, we have this Japanese instructor who has a connection with the Consulate General of Japan, and they actually invite a family of potters to come over here. And so she contacted me, Seiko. She contacted me and said, are we able to host them here? We're gonna bring this community together and celebrate it. So I kind of, started to approach all the different guilds in the Lower Mainland, and then open it up to everybody. all the potters in the Lower Mainland and also, the school students and faculties. And we had an amazing event gathering, for the whole morning. And there was hundreds of people show up to see the demonstration from this Japanese masters and then his family doing demonstrations. And at the end, they provided with this fantastic food feast, and everybody was happy about it. And I still have a really, really great and fond memory about that.
Yeah.
And as well as I think I remember 2018 in the summertime, I think it was through the Craft Council. They brought 6 Korean masters to Vancouver, and they did also a fantastic workshops and exhibition at that time. And I was so lucky and fortunate to have the opportunity to join that workshop. And then actually learn a lot of stuff about the Korean ceramics.
Yeah.
So these are the things I feel like hopefully we will do a bit more. I mean, when Wei actually was able to bring the Chinese Yixing potters to Vancouver, I was very fortunate that I was able to host it in the classroom, to open it also to both my students and then also the Fraser Valley Potters Guild, for them to come and join, to learn how to make a Yixing teapot.
Yeah.
So things like that. A lot of time, I think we were trying to kind of find opportunity, and then to also hopefully to get to know people out there.
Yeah.
And knowing that they have this kind of resources, and then we can approach them, because I'm very limited to who I know.
Yeah.
But hopefully, even with things that we are doing today, right? It's basically to open the door up, to have more people knowing about us, knowing about the Northwest Ceramic Foundation. And so if they have any suggestions or knowing anything that they could, always feel welcome to contact us.
Yeah.
And then hopefully we will do a bit more for the clay community.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love the sharing of that ceramics can be this bridge, and the sharing of not just techniques and information, but also beautiful artworks, and even it results in food, which is such a natural thing for ceramics. That's we're always one step away from food together, which is really the final bringing together of everyone. Appreciate those looks. And Evan, I just have maybe another question I can address with you here. I'm wondering what's inspiring or influencing your work right now, and what encouraged you to work with the methods you're using now?
Oh, my inspiration always comes from my daily life and things that happen around me, and sometimes it's on my own story, and and as I mentioned before, I'm not good at words, and my brain's kind of process the image quite much quicker than words, so that I always have some pictures in my head before I have the words, and then I all make that happens in 3D in my works. Yeah. So for the technique that I've been using, I commonly use slip casting and press molding. And
You do a lot of hand building, right? Yeah. Hand building.
sometimes I mostly do, I think I wouldn't limit myself on a certain method. I always thought about what will be the best way to make it happen. Yeah. So I when I was studying, I tried to pretty much learn everything that I could, and then use it when I need to. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's beautiful. Thank you. And I think now people might really be excited to ask questions from the audience. If all of you don't mind, thank you so much for answering all of these questions and giving us an intimate view into how you think and how you work, and also just what your path has been in ceramics and being an artist. It's really inspiring to hear from each of you. So if there's folks in the audience who would like to ask a few questions, you can either write it in the chat, or you could come in live, and we'll bring it in. I'm happy to read the chat for you, or if you'd like to raise your hand or go ahead and turn on your microphone and camera, then we can ask questions. I'll just read a few of the comments so far. People were really inspired by the range of the work. It's fabulous, and thank you for sharing that. And Ange L wanted to say 14,000 pieces. Wow. So Evan, I think you've inspired a minimum for all of us. And if we don't have more questions, that's fine too. We can sit here and chat for a little bit. Oh, I see a hand up from Amy. Amy, would you like to unmute yourself and ask a question?
Well, unmute. I wasn't sure how to unmute it. My question was just, do you find there's a big difference in how people that you meet, artists, other people in Asia, and they respond to your work differently than, or they see something different in your work than what you find response here? I know Wei mentioned it a little bit when she said people from Asia think her work looks very Western, and people from the West think it looks very Asian or very Oriental. So I'm wondering if you get quite a different response to your work, because you've all been exhibiting in Taiwan and in China and Korea, I think Japan and some places like that.
That's okay. Well, I haven't had that much experience of actually, having the exhibition in Asia and then presenting. The only time I had was when I was doing the residency at Ying-Yueh, and so 2 times I was there. 3 times I was there. I had the exhibition, and one time it was more memorable was 2011. I did my fabric and all the white porcelain pieces there. These comments are not necessarily from the artists themselves, but more from the general public. I just kind of stand there in the gallery, and then you kind of listen to what people commenting on your work, which is always fun to do, right? And so a lot of comment I remember was because my work was so white, right? It was just only the clay. And then my main point was to celebrate that beautiful, beautiful porcelain without any colors putting on there. And a lot of comments I heard was like, oh, this will be much better if it's colored. I was like, okay. So yeah, I was interested to hear that, but that was totally what I was against of doing, is to, I kind of see the porcelain as a woman has beautiful skin, so to just totally naked probably is fine for people to see the beauty, because you can celebrate how beautiful that skin is rather than trying to cover it. So that was my main point of going back to China to use that beautiful porcelain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I want to say something how I feel my exhibition in Taiwan. So obviously my pieces are really, really different from the people they make in Taiwan. Mostly people in Taiwan, the pieces they made, I would not say they are more focusing on traditional glaze change, or most of them, they love wood firing. They love so very organic shape, very nature or color. But my pieces, is a bright color, is colorful, and I use a lot of metallic glaze. Is so shining, like doesn't like clay. So this is really caused a lot of interest from them. They always citing, they are all clay. I thought they are all metal or something like that. But this in Canada is kind of more normal, since people here they use this a lot, like the metallic glaze is from here. I think in Taiwan they don't have that much metallic glaze yet. So I think that's the difference. My pieces in Taiwan kind of very, very different from there. So they have many questions asked me, oh, how did you make this glaze? How do you make them move around some? Yeah. So yeah, that's my experience.
Yeah, thank you. I see some questions in the chat. If I'll just go ahead and read it aloud. The question is, how could we learn more about building the smaller kilns or the small kilns, and what kind of clay seems to work best for that form? Wei, I think this was made for you.
Okay. I've tried. Oh well, first, I find like each kiln, like maybe they are all wood kiln, but they all have their own personalities. So actually building a small or mini version of them actually helped me to understand how the flame travels in the kiln better, to understand like different structure and how the flame goes, why there's how the effect looks like. Even though I think lots of times it's I would say only semi-control. It's the charming part, but also sometimes you want to know it better. So building those small ones helped me get to understand the wood kiln more. Material wise, I just try whatever clay I get access to. You can see I use a soft brick and just dig a hole there to make it work. For me, not only for the mini kiln, but also I like to use local material. Like doesn't matter like where I doing residency or doing my practice. I like to use whatever the material or the all those clay, the brick, or the structure I can get to use. I find it's also a way of knowing the place or understanding the practice locally better. And the kiln showed in the picture, I used the high fire sculpture clay, and also there's a flameware. There's in my presentation, the PowerPoint, there's a picture of, actually I mixed 4 clay together but I was having try to use doing experiment on different ratio to see how it works. And also I will fire them at a lower temperature. For example, the sculpture clay is a high fire clay, but I will fire it at a cone 6. So there's still some space for the clay can breathe more during the fire itself. And even for my wood firing work, I will sometimes I try to make my own clay about it as well. So my answer was just get to know the clay, because here all the clay we get, we have lots of options, but I would say it's limited. It's all kind of standard. I would say stay with certain type of clay, get to know better with them, and then you can play with that. Doing your own clay. I find it's ceramic is an endless journey and an endless experiment.
I'm just actually wondering if you will be at some point willing to maybe run a workshop, right? Because I think probably people wants to learn this from you.
Yeah, sure. And also the mini kiln I showed, and also some big ones, I made those ones during my residency at Chabot last summer, and I will have exhibition in the Chabot Center in the coming months, and also with other residency people, and I will display those kilns if people wanted to take a closer look, and also I will show some works result from those mini kilns as well. Yeah,
that's fantastic. I think people would really love to see the workshops happen. So great question, Ying-Yueh. And also I think like the idea of experimenting with clay is sort of our ongoing journey. Makes a lot of sense. And yeah, there's a lot of experimentation to do. I'm wondering about this next kind of follow-up question from the same person. Are those kilns only fired once then?
oh no, well, not my plan. I want to fire them as much as I can, but like some of them, my very first one, I think it start cracks after the third firing, so I stopped doing that.
Yeah,
but I changed my clay recipe a little bit, which it can live a bit longer. And some of them I'm planning to have some like wires around it to have some safe protection. To re-enhance that.
Yeah. Another kind of question that's coming in around, like, for those who are self-taught here in the area, how can you get more involved with ceramic, people working in ceramics? Maybe some of you have talked about the guilds a little bit. Maybe you could say a bit more about how guilds have helped you kind of connect out into building work, and if you're self-taught. Yeah, and community centers maybe too.
I think most importantly, I think the guild is organized by amateur person, and important is it is a non-profit. So people in that group, we have no competition. All we have just we share each other experience, and we really help each other. And also we have the sale twice a year. So we learn how to starting from how to deal with we need to rent a space to sell our work. We need to deal with the owner, how to rent a space. We need to know how to promote ourselves at the very limited money. We don't want to spend much money to make the advertisement. So we make the sign ourselves, and we have many people to put the sign around before our sale. And also I think we do our own website, something like that. I think from all this, I learned how to communicate with different people within different things, not just doing pottery in studio. And this is, you cannot learn from other place if people don't know you. But here we do everything by ourselves. So we also thinking of the way that we can afford, we can do, not asking different people to help us. So I think that's really very helpful. Yeah,
so there's guilds all over BC, and there's also community centers working in clay all over BC. So for the person asking, there's lots of opportunities out there depending on your area. To find those guilds, and
each city have their guild society, so you can join the one near you. They have, each city have their different guild organized.
Excellent. So I think we're coming to an end here. Is there any last questions that people would really like to jump in, or comments? I'm seeing a lot of thank yous and excellent presentations and lots of good notes. Robin, I see you there. Would you like to unmute and show yourself?
Oh, I have a very bad hair day today, so I'll just unmute and not show myself.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good.
Hello, thank you for the presentation. I was just curious, this question is for Evan. There were two very distinct sort of bodies of work for me. There were the sort of many pieces, slip casted, very mechanical looking, and then there was just a switch over to sort of more narrative female forms. I'm just wondering, can Evan comment on why the female form? It is very like what I saw was, it was very personal, it was very narrative. And it's yeah, I was just wondering if I'm just trying to figure out what the usage of the female form is in relation to the theme of the work. That's it. Thank you.
I think the reason why that I use the female form is first I like the female form. And then the other is like I already mentioned that it's my ex-girlfriend's. So it's my ex-girlfriend's body. So then I just want to kind of like to the public, I didn't tell anyone that it is my ex-girlfriend's body. So I sometimes I will hide it in my work to tell to tell my own story and also expressing myself, what I wanted to say, because I don't have a lot of word in myself, so I usually say it from my work. Yeah, and I don't know, because if somebody asks me like why female form, it's just because I like it. Yeah, because sometimes I just have to do what I like. I couldn't think. I couldn't think too much about any other people, what they are thinking and what they like, because it's just what I like. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that helps a lot to just get a sense of where it's coming from. Some other questions here at the end. I'll just read a few more thank yous and very interesting presentations. Nice to get to know all of the presenters' work. Another thank you for all your wonderful presentations. You're getting a lot of thank yous here. It was beautiful to hear from all of you. And I appreciate having such a great group where each of your works are so different from each other, but have a lot of depth and knowledge involved in them, as well as just seeing how you've progressed very genuinely, each of you, along your path. A big thank you from all of us at the Northwest Ceramic Foundation for participating in this conversation and bringing all of your selves to this. And we've recorded it, so you can actually see it again, all of you out there, or if someone missed it and you want to share it, please send them to the website for the Northwest Ceramic Foundation, and the talk will be there as well. And then there's also a little bit more here just from the Northwest Ceramic Foundation. You can find a link to that pottery thing 2023 on the website, but also you'll find a link to this recording, and from there you can find a little information that you can look up each of these artists here a little bit further and get to know their work even more from their website. So thank you everyone for your attention, and thank you to the artists for everything. Have a good afternoon.
Bye.
Bye everyone.
Thank you.